Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us here today. We appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedules to join us. That process that we're going to discuss today, how to build your firm by offshore, is the process that we're very excited to be able to bring to you. I'm delighted that literally thousands of emails had gone out, and we have great attendance on the line today. NCI has been working alongside GKM, well, for over 10 years now. We have many mutual success stories, many clients that have been very satisfied. Our focus at NCI has always been helping accountants build and grow their practices through our guaranteed practice development programs. But anybody who's experienced growth in their firm recognizes that, getting clients is only half of the battle. You then need to be able to provide a quality service and solution and do that in a way that provides your clients with world-class service and allows your firm to be profitable, right, at the same time. So, again, I want to thank you for attending today. I think you'll find this information is timely. If you've ever considered outsourcing, hopefully today we'll just be able to enlighten you a little bit on where the industry is going from our perspective and how you may be able to get involved. Okay, from an agenda perspective, here's what we're going to cover here for you today. We're going to talk about real results from an offshoring success story. We have Don Button, CPA, on the line today, who had worked with NCI several years ago and helped him grow his practice through our marketing system. Shortly thereafter, Don was growing very quickly and wanted to be able to keep up with the growth within his firm. He was introduced to GKM as a resource, and for the last several years has been using GKM to help him with his processing. So Don will share with you, in his own words, his experience with GKM. We'll then talk about why offshoring has become a real and viable option for accounting firms. Many businesses, they've heard about outsourcing or offshoring. In some cases, maybe they've even tried it, but not everyone knows how they can fully maximize the benefits of this type of a relationship. Of course, the most common reason for many firms deploying this strategy is to improve the performance of their firm while at the same time saving on costs and crucially enabling the right firm talent to focus on tasks to improve value to the customer, right? So that's really what this process is all about. So we'll talk about how it's become a real and viable option. We'll talk about the true value of building an offshore team to help your firm's capacity. We'll then talk about what are some of the necessary requirements for a successful offshoring effort, and then why we believe GKM is the right team member for your offshore team. Again, having worked with them directly for 10 plus years and having many satisfied mutual customers, NCI has a lot of confidence that GKM can be that solution for you. And then, time permitting, we'll get into some questions. Both myself as well as our panelists will be available here today. GKM's President Vijay Sudhakar is with me here on the line today to answer any technical questions that I might not be able to address directly. Okay. As I mentioned, this webinar, I believe, is very timely information. Not surprisingly, we received a tremendous amount of interest in attending the webinar here today. And what I would like to do is we're going to turn things over here now to Don Button, who, again, has had experience with GKM now for several years. He was kind enough to take time out of his busy schedule to share with you his story and his journey with offshoring. So without any further ado, I'm going to turn the podium over to Don Button. Don, thanks you for
Todd.
joining us.
I appreciate it. We started working with NCI in 2002, and that program took off like wildfires. As many of you probably already know and experience in your own firm, finding the right people to help process the work is the most difficult part. We struggled for the next 6 years trying to use bookkeepers. I think we went through 12 different bookkeepers during that time frame until I had done some research and found GKM. And about the same time they signed up with NCI is when we contacted VG and Carte, and we started working with them, and we've been working with them since 2008, and we've never looked back. I would not hire another bookkeeper internally. Their program and us working with them is just much more flexible, and it's much easier to use. Excuse me. Our relationship has grown tremendously since that time frame as well. We feel very comfortable in the process that we've developed. Our communication via email is easy. You don't have the HR problems that you would have having staff internally. It makes the workflow much easier in our office. And that's pretty much what we've been working on.
Great, Don. Well, we really appreciate that testimonial, and again, continued success to you and to your firm. So clearly, with Don having been working alongside GKM, wow, since 2008, so we're coming up on 10 years. That's a great relationship, and we're glad that that's worked out well for you, and wish you nothing but continued success. Thanks again, Don.
Thanks, Todd.
All right. My pleasure. All right, so moving right along, folks, I think the questions that you're probably asking yourself if you are joining the webinar here today are, how can we streamline our service and make it more efficient? How can we deliver more to our clients for less, right? And then also, how do I market my business to attract more clients? If we're so busy servicing our clients, it's hard to get our heads up to be able to then focus as the CEO of your company, right, or a partner within your company or firm. How do you really begin to look towards the future? So, of course, you have to worry about focusing on servicing your existing clients before you can head out there and start chasing new ones. So these are some of the common questions. In fact, what I'd like to do is to just kind of get a sense for your experience with outsourcing here on the webinar today. I'm going to launch a poll that I think will be telling in terms of how many of you have really considered this and what your experience with outsourcing has been. So let me go ahead and launch this poll. Do you already have, or have you considered, an offshore team? So go ahead and, if you would, respond with your answer here. Either you already have a team, no, we don't, we're deciding or have decided to do it but have not yet implemented, need some more information, or just philosophically against outsourcing. I'll give that another few seconds here for the answers to come in. We see some interesting results. We see that, well, as of now, about 25% of you already have a team in place. 13% of you know, but you've outsourced some tasks. 22% of you have decided to do it, but you've not yet implemented. And then 44% of you need more information. Nobody has said they're philosophically against it at this point. And I think it's important to note as we go ahead and end the poll here, and I'll share those results with you for just a second so that you can digest that as well. I think it's important to note that the big firms have been outsourcing tasks for years. And I think over the last decade or so, what may have been a bit of a taboo subject has been more commonplace. More and more firms are recognizing that it makes sense for them to spend time on their core competencies and to be able to outsource much of the work, especially if you're using the NCI marketing system or a program similar in nature where you're servicing a lot of small business clients, providing them with bookkeeping, write-up type services. These are some of the ideal tasks that in most cases can and should be outsourced or could consider being outsourced. Okay. Okay. So what I oftentimes suggest that clients do as they consider this type of an option is to just put a 3-column identifier down on paper, right? And just kind of ask yourself these questions. In that first column, jot down the tasks that you or your staff need to do, but either you hate doing or you'd rather not do if given the choice, right? So that goes in column number 1. The second column is the tasks that your staff would love to do or like to do, but they can't because they're busy with tasks in column number 1, right? They're so caught up in the day-to-day work that they can't focus on some of the work that they enjoy doing. And then lastly, in the third column, the tasks that without question you can delegate to somebody else, okay? That you could delegate to one of your professional accountants, one of your team members, okay? And this approach, I think in most cases, will show the tasks that you can outsource so that you and your staff can focus on tasks that you'd like to do and which ones are going to be more higher yielding, right? To get out from the nuts and bolts of providing the bookkeeping services and even the tax returns in some cases, if you choose to outsource that type of work, and you can focus on some higher billing projects. And every firm's different, whether you're involved in providing QuickBooks consulting, wealth management, payroll, tax resolution work, which of course has become very popular today, CFO controller level services. So it frees you up to be able to add those services to your portfolio of services that you can offer to your clients that can be higher rate type projects, and of course, most importantly, provide more value to your trusted clients. One of the things that I think holds folks back is, how am I going to sell this message not only to your clients, but just as importantly, how are you going to sell it to your existing team, right? So when employees see that jobs are being outsourced, they might think, well, my job could be next. But outsourcing is not always about reducing your onshore headcount. It's helping them become more skilled, as now they can move away from some of those process-driven tasks and focus on creating solutions for their clients, which I think is a lot more fun work and allows you to really focus on how you can evolve your systems and processes. When you have the time to be able to do that, it allows you to do a little bit more forward thinking. So it can be an enriching and enlightening experience for the staff members as we begin to move some of those processes from in-house to offshore. This is just an average of what the typical cost for an offshore staff member would cover versus having somebody onshore. Now, typically 4 offshore staff would equal 1 onshore team member. Now, these numbers can vary depending on where you are in the United States and what type of services that you're providing to your clients and how they're being compensated. But for some of the common work, the bookkeeping and the tax work, I think this statistic is very telling, that you can still hire quality offshore talent. And I think that's a key word, that these are people that are highly trained, highly skilled, highly educated, that are going to become part of your team, just like having a member from your organization work remotely. It's amazing with the technology today, how we can leverage the resources of this technology to be able to provide a quality service to your clients without really skipping a beat. Okay, so in talking about some of the services that GKM can provide to you and your customers, let's jump in to a little bit about GKM's vision. So first and foremost, we're a public accounting firm in India. GKM has a division where they service clients locally. They have a very established, mature firm with team members that focus on existing clients. And for over 10 years now, they have been partnering with firms across the United States to become their back office solution. with many partnerships across the country, they've really refined some of their systems and some of their processes, okay, that they now have in place to really provide you with what would be world-class services. And as we talk about what you kind of envision for your business, some of the front office or core business services that you're going to be providing, here's really where some of the reasons for outsourcing make sense. I think as we've kind of established here, outsourcing is concerned with shifting a task to another party to be completed, which of course can be done either here domestically or internationally. And this outsourcing or offshoring process refers to setting up a team to get this work done in a different country. Of course, there's cost advantages, as we've talked about, but when done right, the offshoring can dramatically increase productivity and create a competitive advantage by offshoring certain processes. It's really more of a long-term play, as you'll get access to a great pool of talent, while GKM is investing a lot in their ongoing training and development with their staff members, just like any team member. So you'd be assigned a dedicated individual that's going to be responsible for servicing your account. There's also a manager that would be responsible for overseeing that effort. And as Don mentioned, GKM, who is led by VG Sudhakar, who lives here in the United States in Pennsylvania, so you have a presence here stateside for any issues or customer support related problems that you may be having. And then Karthi, who is the partner in charge of the operations overseas in India. Under their leadership, they have provided great customer service, nothing but an outstanding experience for their clients. They take that extremely important. So let's talk a little bit about the cost benefit here. Let's chat about that for just a few minutes. So offshoring accounting services gives a considerable wage cost advantage. And in a research study conducted by GKM, as firms can typically have 3 to 4 people to cover that one offshore, that one onshore person that may be in need here stateside. With this increase in manpower, capacity and scaling are not that difficult to achieve. You know, I talk to a lot of firms every day across the country that have, great revenue. They're bringing in business, but there's only one problem. They're not making any money. And they've kind of come to the conclusion that either their fees are too low or their bookkeepers are too slow. And that can be a very difficult challenge, especially when you kind of have a revolving door of staff here internally. How much time and energy do you spend training and bringing people up to speed, only to see them go, take another job or recognize maybe after a few months that they're not the right person? GKM takes a lot of that responsibility, as Don said, without some of the HR issues, some of the training and development. The cost benefit is there. But I think most importantly, to be able to focus on your core competencies. Kind of ask yourself, where do you see your business? How are you going to support? You can have a process for delivering the work to your clients. It's then kind of a matter of matching the offshore talent to deliver this work. You can go out and try to find a team on your own, or you can rely on the experience of NCI, who had vetted GKM when we first entered into this strategic partnership. And as we like to say, if we're going to put our own reputation and name on the line, we don't need anybody else to mess that up for us. We can do that ourselves. But we've had a lot of vendor relationships over the years, and GKM has been really just a delight to work with. And anybody and everybody that's utilized their services has had nothing but a positive experience. They work very hard to make sure that you're happy. Okay. So what this process will allow you to do is to map out some of those process-driven tasks so that you can pinpoint which tasks can be outsourced. And while you're going through this mapping process, standardization, re-engineering of what you're doing can kind of seem like a cost because there's some time involved in doing that, but it really allows your firm to get some great clarity on where opportunities to increase productivity truly lie. And therein lies where some of your efficiencies kind of paves the way to define out some of your processes and allows the onshore staff to work on tasks that they weren't able to initially because, again, they were tied up with some of those time-consuming, process-driven tasks. And as far as a long-term investment in people is concerned, in the case of outsourcing, it can often be perceived that the offshore teams are very separate and that they're there to just kind of do a job. And the real successes that we've seen are where firms really fully open their firm culture and development to all their employees, no matter where their location is. And while, of course, we're not there face-to-face in the same office, the workflow becomes very streamlined when you've got cloud technologies. The boundaries of where we're working become insignificant. And again, the leading firms that we work with have seen a heavy investment in their offshore staff, even visiting them frequently or bringing them into local offices. So the scaling, it can allow you to do it in an organized, focused way without having this disconnect of an organization that literally is halfway around the world and the problem of not everybody being on the same page. We have kind of a checklist of items that we go through when you become a customer. There's time that it takes to, just like if you were bringing on a new employee, we have to do some training. We have to get to know one another. We have to get a sense of our systems, your systems, and we try to collaborate in a way that we're not having you reinvent how you're doing things. We want to try to adapt to your model. And again, having worked with countless firms across the country, that's something I think we've got some great experience in being able to do. I don't think it comes as any secret that our industry is changing today. We all experience not only economic pressures, but fee pressures. Our clients are expecting more from us than ever before, although in many cases they don't want to pay higher fees for it. Increased regulation, compliance issues, the seasonality of some of the work, especially if you have a tax practice, rapidly changing technology, constantly coming up with new programs and software and systems that are kind of changing the game of how accountants are working with their clients. Some of the common issues that I think a lot of firms are facing as we look towards the future are efficiencies. I hear it every day that training new people, coming up with processes, having the ability to spend that face time with clients to be able to really deepen those relationships is a challenge when you're kind of faced with cranking out the work, especially when we're in a deadline-driven business like we are here in the accounting and tax profession. Many of you, I'm sure, have had thoughts about adding additional value-added services, whether it again be financial planning or higher-level consulting or audits and reviews or you name it, but finding the time to be able to implement that is oftentimes a real challenge when you're up to your eyeballs in some of your, again, core competencies, the bookkeeping and the tax. So why India? If you were to kind of take a snapshot of some of the factors that would lead you to outsourcing, and there are, of course, several options available to you, several companies that provide these services, but we have access to a tremendously talented team of qualified manpower to be able to provide you a quick turnaround. Many of my clients that have worked with GKM, they send their work in or they upload it online, and then shortly thereafter, they have a quality product delivered back to them. I think it's important to note that the size of the talent pool, the salaries, the quality, the knowledge, and the comfort in English have made it very feasible to be able to drive this type of work to many of your clients and to be able to do it in a high quality way. Keep in mind that your customers are not going to interface with any of the offshore team members. They work and deal directly with you or a member of your staff. You're still signing off on all the work. It's just like having an employee work remotely, logging in from home to do the work. They're just a back office solution. There's also, between the state of art infrastructure, there's great political stability. The economy is growing in India, good government policies, and the time zone differences can actually be a huge advantage. Meaning, when you're sleeping at night, the little bookkeeping fairies can come in and do much of the work in a quick turnaround time frame. They're very responsive, very timely in being able to turn some of that work around very, very quickly. So it actually can work as an advantage. With which much of the communication happening via email, that's a preferred method of communication for, I think, both sides. But certainly there will be conference calls and review calls to make sure that we're on track and everybody's on the same page. Again, in the beginning, a little bit more time and energy for setup, but once we've had an opportunity to kind of get to know one another, understand some of the intricacies of your business and some of your clients, just like bringing on staff in-house, it becomes a lot more smooth of an operation within the first few months. And I think you'll find that's very similar to bringing on somebody in-house. You have to put a little time and energy into training them on the new clients initially, but once that's done, it starts to work a bit more routinely. So what are some of the services that are being outsourced in today's marketplace? What are we seeing? Well, we are seeing individual returns, business returns, bookkeeping. We're seeing financial analysis reports, accounts payable reports. These are some of the data-intensive routine tasks that we are outsourcing in today's marketplace. Now, this workflow, this is not a one-size-fits-all, but these are different ways that you can communicate with GKM. Through the internet, you save the source documents, whether it be on an online file cabinet or upload them to GKM's server. GKM uses the virtual office or a SaaS or online program located in the cloud to update the work. And you log into your office and access the updated books. Again, it's working in the cloud environment. This is the most popular way in today's environment that clients are working with GKM. They just simply log in remotely, regardless of where they are in the world. This process is like an employee logging in or you logging in from home outside of your office. Very simple process. Remote desktop is another way. You scan and place the source documents on your computer. GKM can access that with remote desktop access, and then you can, of course, access the updated books on your computer. Or if offline or on GKM's server, you can actually scan and upload the source documents and files to GKM's server. GKM downloads and processes the file and uploads it back, and then you download the books from GKM's server to your computer. So again, we have a lot of different methods to be able to work with you. So these are the services that more firms are now being able to put energy into retaining and expanding because they provide a higher value, higher billing rates, and more face time with their clients. So whether it be new business consulting, business valuations, tax planning, corporate financing, estate planning, even services like wealth management for certain firms. These are the areas that now, hopefully with a good offshore partner, you can spend more time on some of these services, which are designed to help deepen relationships with your clients and add another profit center to the business, while at the same time being able to, deepen relationships with your existing clients. So these are some of the core services that you would want to keep in-house and not outsource. Again, they require more contact, more of a relationship with your clients versus the data-intensive projects that are oftentimes going to be provided by somebody like GKM. So here's kind of a menu of services that we offer that you can take a moment to look through. On the tax return side, everything from individual returns, corporate returns, partnership returns, fiduciaries, nonprofits, estate and gift tax, sales and use tax. GKM has experience with all the major tax software programs. So whatever you use, they have a team of folks there that are capable of being able to utilize your program, the more common programs. Bookkeeping, and this is where I think folks see a tremendous amount of value in outsourcing the accounting work. GKM chart of accounts design, monthly and quarterly write-ups, quarterly payroll filings, management reporting and financial analysis, audit support procedures, and customized reports as required. And then other services, as you can see, these are some additional items that GKM has experience with on an as-needed basis. I want to go ahead and launch a second poll. See if we can't do that here. Because I think it's important to talk about this. Is what is your biggest concern regarding outsourcing? What will my clients think? What will my team members think? How am I going to communicate this to the clients? And what will the quality of work be like? Will my clients' data be secure? Do you have any of these concerns? If so, which one is kind of holding you back, if any, here from getting started with such a process? What is your biggest concern? Give you about 15 seconds to go ahead and provide an answer here. Okay. Very, very common responses. And I'm going to go ahead and end the poll. It looks like everybody's completed that. I'm going to share these results out with you so you can see. The biggest concern is, what will my clients think? Always a challenge, right? How am I going to be able to communicate this to my clients? Well, having a conversation with your client on the accounting bookkeeping side is something that some firms choose to do, some do not. There's no requirement to make that clear or have them sign any consent form. I know in our little accounting firm here, America's Choice Bookkeeping and Tax, a sister firm that NCI had developed a few years ago, we have a little something in our engagement letter that says your work can be performed or will be performed by a third party that resides outside the United States. In fact, we even talk about it, that we have an offshore partner. We talk about it on the sales presentations with our clients. And we say, look, we can do the work in-house if you'd like us to do that. We're still going to be there to service your account, answer any questions that you have. You'll only communicate directly with us. But for some of the data entry projects, we've brought on a third party that helps control our costs, and in turn will help keep your fees at a low and reasonable level. And everybody wants to save money, and they want to have their fees at a reasonable level. And if they know that they're still only communicating with you or one of your team members, should they have any questions, my experience is that most clients don't really care. And if they do, and there will always be some that prefer to keep it in-house or made here in the USA, if that in fact was something that was important to them, well, then maybe that's just a client that you service internally. You don't have to outsource 100% of your clients. Maybe you only outsource 80% or 90% or whatever you feel comfortable with. On the tax return side, it's a little different. There, the IRS has very clear language that needs to be specified in a form that would in turn need to be signed by your client. The form only needs to be signed one time, but if you're going to be sending Social Security numbers outside the United States, the IRS states that your client must consent and they have to sign a form. So it's a conversation that you have to have. We have specific language that we can guide you on how to communicate this to your clients. so that it's an easier conversation to have, and guide you and educate you on how you may want to present that to your customers. Okay, so we have some verbiage there on how to best be able to communicate it. But I think at the end of the day, if the client understands that they're still communicating with you and your team members, it's going to help control their costs. You're going to be able to provide them with a deeper level of services by now being able to focus on some other value-added services like we've talked about. I think most clients are going to be okay with that. And again, if they're not, then maybe you just handle them in-house. What will the quality of the work be like? That's a concern for some folks. Well, I think you'll find that the quality is of a level that you would expect out of somebody that would be working on behalf of your firm. GKM has a very intense training process that they put all their new team members through. Everybody that works for their organization has the proper education, the proper credentials, and I think you'll find that in most cases they're going to exceed, and I won't say most cases, in every case they'll exceed your expectations in terms of the quality. There's a two-step review process that happens. The preparer or the bookkeeper, the staff accountant will do the work, and then it's reviewed by a manager before it's ever available back to your firm to be able to then review and deliver to your client. So there is a very detailed two-step review process, and I have not had an issue over 10 plus years ever in a mutual client calling me and telling me that the quality of the work has been subpar. And will my client's data be secure? That's always a question too. Many folks voiced that here on the webinar today. How can I know that my work is not going to be shared or something may happen to my client's file? I don't need that information to get loose online somehow. We need to make sure that it's secure. So with that, and we'll talk about some of the security measures we have in place here in just a moment. Okay, so let's go ahead and close that poll. And from a quality standpoint, just to expand on that a little bit more, we have checklists, we have documents that we have put together that help keep everybody on track. We have standard operating procedures. Everything's been formalized. We have a great system that we are able to deploy overseas at the headquarters where GKM's team operates. So from commercial graduates who are going to be putting the work together, doing some of the processing, to management postgraduates who review some of the process data by the reviewer, and then a review by the professional chartered accountants, which is essentially the equivalent of a CPA here in the state, reviewing on key controlling issues and overall management. So really, it's a multi-layer approach to making sure we deliver to you, our client, a quality product back. We know that if you're dissatisfied with the client, you're not going to renew with us in the coming months or years. And obviously, we're looking for a long-term relationship. A little bit about the security. So we touched on this a moment ago, how this was a bit of a concern in sending work overseas. Dual monitors on all workstations for secure paperless functioning. There's no paper, no pen. Nobody can jot anything down. They're only as good as what they can see. Limited email access on a requirement basis. There's no personal email account access for the team members. There's absolutely no mobile phones in the work area. They have a little locker that, at their shift start time, they stick all their personal belongings in there. All entry to processing area are secured with access cards. So they have to swipe their card just to gain access to the production area. And all workstations are completely up to date with not only antivirus software, but firewall protection as well. And there are, of course, no external drives available in any of the workstations. So nobody can take a little flash drive or a CD and pull off that information. There's absolutely no external drives on any of the computers in our facility. We have, from a system standpoint, a well-implemented intrusion detection system, good alarm system. Network is protected with state-of-the-art firewalls. We're a 21st century firm. We're paperless. continuous monitoring of the entire network trafficking. So we have somebody who is constantly overseeing and monitoring that process. We also have installed keystroke software, and this is on all of the workstations. So periodically we'll audit that to look at all the keystroke logs, just to, again, add another layer of security. And we have very reliable data storage in secure US servers. So we have redundant servers, they're backed up. All the online storage is 256-bit encrypted, so it's very secure. It's the same level of security that I think you'd find if you were logging in to your bank account here in the States. So it's a very secure process. We take that very seriously, and knock on wood, to date, we have not had any type of data breaches or security issues as far as the client experience has been concerned. So for those of you that have considered getting involved in outsourcing, maybe now you're ready to get serious about the process, let's have a conversation with you to further explore whether or not this might be the right fit for your practice. It's not for everybody, but if you're looking to be able to not only reduce some costs, but just as importantly, free up you or your staff's time to work on some of those higher value services, would that benefit your firm? That's the question you have to ask yourself. Okay, and we can certainly provide you more detailed information as it relates to pricing and what the investment would look like based on your specific needs. We have different layers, different levels, depending on what you're looking for, whether it be a part-time resource, a full-time resource, or even, if necessary, kind of get started on more of a project basis. We also have current rates that we can share with you on the tax return preparation side, so that we charge on a per return basis and can provide you with the different rates we have, which are really based on complexity. And our stateside president, VG, can be reached at the following toll-free number, 844-889-3852. You can send us an email at info@gkmtax.com or visit us online at gkmtax.com for some more information. Okay, now, because we're kind of running a little over on the time we had allotted for today's session, if you happen to have any questions, let's go ahead and deal with those on a one-on-one basis so that we can get you out of here in a timely manner. You can reach out to VG or even myself directly, and we can make sure that we forward your question along to the appropriate person. You can also click on the button as we're going to send a replay of the webinar. You can click on the button when you receive the replay to schedule a consult with us to set up a time to discuss how GKM services could assist you and your firm in, again, providing a high quality service to your clients and helping maximize the profitability of your firm. I do see that there are some questions that have come through here. We'll make sure that we appropriately forward those along so that you can get a response in a timely manner. And again, we look forward to having the opportunity to work with you here in the near future. If you would like to speak to some references, we can provide you with a long list of some satisfied customers here in the States. Outside of Don, we have a lot of other happy campers that will be happy to share their experience with you. So we'll give you all the information you need here to make an informed decision. And I think ultimately, while you have a lot of choices when it comes to outsourcing and offshoring, there's a lot of companies that do this. I think based on the reputation, the NCI endorsement, and some of the competitive advantages that we have being a public accounting firm, being familiar with many of the processes and systems here in the States, I think GKM will be the right choice for you and your team if this is something that you're considering implementing within your firm. So with that, I want to thank everybody for their time, for their attention, and for joining us here today on the webinar. And we look forward to starting an initial dialogue here with you soon. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a great day.